Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I'm so glad that you could keep our appointment. Tonight's guest needs no introduction. I'm talking about Chief Pontiac, aka Rod Hayes, and I'm not gonna bore you with who I am, but I want to talk to the man with the plan. That's none other than Chief Pontiac. Welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G.
We had this time. They probably think we a minute or two late, but we ain't late.
They don't know what just happened. How you doing? How's everybody doing? Welcome. I did the short intro version because I didn't want to spend a lot of time. We'll play the long one going out. But Chief Pontiac, it is always as usual a privilege and an honor to have you on this platform. This is one of your home away from homes, and I know you know that. And you my big little brother, and I respect you to the utmost. And the knowledge and the wisdom and the insight that you bring to any platform. You dominate. Let me just say this. You dominate any platform that you come on. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory or negative manner, but I think you can help it. You know what I mean? I think you are just brimming with knowledge and information and inspiration that when you have an opportunity to present to the world, I'm not even gonna say the public, to the world. I mean, you just, it's like you push the button and you just go brrr. So I saw you the other night. Well, actually I saw a replay of last Friday's broadcast, the meeting of the masters.
Yeah, with Dane Counterway and legendary Top Cats.
Absolutely. And I had already, hit you up and asked you about being on the show. Didn't even know what you were doing, and then had the opportunity the next day to listen to that 3-hour, 30-minute, if you will, build. I'm gonna call it a build. And I was happy that you said a lot of the things that you said, because it restored my faith in, we already had that conversation. I'm not even going.
Yeah, we ain't got to go all into it. We know what's going on.
Yeah, so I felt like you were heard, and that some of the things that you shared were probably have broken down some things that needed to be broken down and made more clear. So I just want to thank you all, and you in particular, for that. And again, like I said, tonight I ask you to come on, and like I said, it's going to be a Q&A and a build and a whatever we want to talk about. And hopefully you all who are listening, if you have not already done so, please click like, because folks don't like to like things, but they'll watch the whole thing. And if you don't like it, then you shouldn't watch it, right? So like it, at least so we can go up in the algorithms. This isn't for finance. If you think you helping House of Reawakening Minds get some finances, you're not, because we're not monetized. But if you help us in the algorithms, more people will find our videos. And that's what I believe is more important. So like, share, let folks know that Chief Pontiac is here at Office Hours with Dr. G, and we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, and we're going to give you an opportunity to ask some questions. I only ask that you be respectful in the chat. Now, Chief probably don't give a flip, but I do. So I have, I do block parties nowadays, and I don't say anything as much anymore. I just, so just be respectful, and let's, because when you're not respectful, other folks are distracted and agitated. So, hold your peace, and unless you got something to add that's gonna, build this thing up, please
add value. Add value instead of destruction.
Absolutely. That's all I'm saying, y'all. That's all I'm saying.
So you mentioned the show I did with Top Cat, but by this being House of Reawakened Minds and it's Moorish friendly, I have to point out that I did a good show with two Moorish brothers that I would consider to be righteous Moors. and we able to build from that paradigm. I can't work with dirty Moors. My temper too short, and I don't tolerate what they do to disgrace the righteous Moors. Right. So when a lot of time people be thinking because I talk about the dirty Moors that I'm talking about all Moors.
That part,
right?
And that's the misconception. I'm glad you said that.
I'm not talking about all Moors because I know all Moors ain't the same as the dirty Moor. But the dirty Moor raised so much noise that you would believe that all of the Moors is dirty Moors. And then when you listen to me go at their head, a lot of I'm growth and development, my Chief Larry Hoover. I'm not a Moor, right? I'm growth and development. That don't mean that I didn't listen to Noble Drew Ali when he said get a good Moorish education. That don't mean that I wasn't listening when I was reading Oral States and Prophecies, where he said the only thing that would surprise me is if a Moor would do right. I was paying attention when he said I can count the number of Moors that's going to make it on one hand and have fingers left. So the most Moors that can make it and have a plural of fingers left is 3. Because the minimum of a plurality is 2. So the most Moors that Noble Drew Ali in his day seen making it was 3 righteous people. Right? Then for like in Chicago, my stomping grounds is in the middle of Peach Stone territory called Motown. I'm hobnobbing, rubbing shoulders, coming up, learning the streets of Chicago in Motown with Peach Stone. I can't be at war with them. And then they don't move like dirty Moors. They in the same struggle the rest of us in. As adolescents, no, we didn't have all of the elders that could have told us, look, this is a war we at. They turning us against each other. They paying people that look like us to infiltrate us and turn us against each other. When we was youth, we didn't know that. So we thought that when the ops, as we thought it was then, was riding on us, that they was really the ops. We didn't know that they was infiltrated. Right? So that builds, to hear me build with Moors that's on the right path, that's seeking to educate and uplift fallen humanity, it's not the same as when you see me going to war with dirty Moors. Newsflash, righteous Moors in the Moorish Science Temple fight dirty Moors in the temple on a regular basis. I seen it with my own eyes. Don't nobody gotta tell me. Right? I am also aware of the Moorish consulate that keeps on file all of the complaints against the dirty Moors doing their dirt under the sciences. I also could give you all of the reference of the righteous Moors and what they was teaching us and how to look at what they teaching, like C. Freeman Neal is the metaphysician, right? The coldest to do it, because he make it so easy that everybody don't know what he talking about. Taj Tariq Bey is the civics instructor. We teach us how law is applied in the system so we ain't victims to the system. Right? Hakeem Bey out of New York is a tribal Moor. That means he talk about his native ancestry and his connection to the tribes of the land. Right? So I'm telling you, the Moors that's putting in the work on the righteous side, but I'm also trying to tear a new a-hole in the dirty Moors. I don't like them, don't trust them, don't want them around me. But I'm not worried about them. That's not my house to clean up. They gonna have to answer to Angel Bay and Taj Tariq. They gonna sit down and they gonna come up with a system of how to deal with the ones that's misusing the name of the Moors, making them all look bad. We know it's a clear distinction between a righteous Moor and a dirty Moor. The Moors know this, but the dirty Moors will trick the righteous Moor because he ain't listened to Rod Hayes yet to find out what he's talking about. So he'll play a clip where I'm roasting the dirty Moor, and he'll say, see, that brother don't like Moors. Even if I didn't like Moors, as long as I'm not attacking you, it shouldn't matter. But when I attack you, defend yourself. That's the law of nature. And when you attack me, I'm going to defend myself. If I'm minding my business and I'm in my own lane, having a conversation with my sister, Dr. G, and you want to come in and heckle us, I can get into that, but I'm not going to do it on her show because that's disrespectful to my sister. Right? So in order for the noble blood to be seen, you have to watch the character, because the noble blood is betrayed by a noble character. The person who carry themselves with the integrity and commands respects never have to make a demand for respect. People naturally respect those that's respectable, but the ones that's not respectable gotta force you to respect them. They ain't respectable, so they gotta use force. I don't ever tell anybody what to think, believe, feel. All that's your own personal paradigm and your personal self-development process. What I do tell them is, beware the traps on the road. Many are called, few are chosen. The chosen ones was chosen because they didn't walk through so many times they can around all of the obstacles blindfolded. And the ancestors said the ones who know is obligated to lead. Ones who know must lead. Must is not a selection or option, or it's not negotiable. The fact that I just happened to know a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't know I was getting myself into, I probably would have stayed a damn idiot. If I'd have known that I was going to have to go through what I went through at the end of it. I didn't know I was studying so I could be abused. I didn't know I just thought I was improving myself. I didn't know I was studying so people could lie on me, bear false witness, undercut the righteous deed and the righteous works of the righteous on the path of righteousness, trying to help as many people as possible attain the same level of understanding of the problem so that we can all unify and effectuate a solution. If I'd have known, I'd have stayed where I was at, working at General Motors, doing my daddy thing. I didn't have to step out and come and deal with these scholars that's part of secret societies that's misleading the public on purpose with willful and malicious intent. I wouldn't have been showing them the most vile and bloody oath for the papacy so I could show you that this is their MO. This is what they do. I wouldn't have had to show you that ain't no tribal chief name on these treaties. They all treaties with people that don't got nothing to do with the land. That's fraud. And then they turn around and have us believing that the Civil War was about the North versus the South, and they not telling us that the Confederate was the Iroquois Confederation of Nations. They don't want us to know that. So if I tell people this, it's a belligerent statement to the corporation called the USA, and it's a belligerent statement to the ones we classify as dirty Moors. To defy the slave narrative, Africans didn't just start coming over here after Columbus. We've been doing business with Africans for thousands of years. Why wouldn't they have an admixture of blood over here? We've been marrying their royal families in Africa, and the Africans been marrying royal families from the Americas. I can name clans that's not native to Africa, but been over there so long you won't know it. The Afar clan is one. They Algonquin organic to over here, but they went over there a long, long time ago to aid in assisting the civilization and the rebuilding of the land after a war. Right? I can tell you that, and when you go look at him, you be like, damn, he look like my Uncle Jim from down in Mississippi. Right? But this is why we called Africa the Afar Inca. Inca mean people. The Afar was the tribe that went over there. So over here, we was calling it the Afar Inca, and then they used the Arabic word Ifrak from the Berlin Conference and made them the same word. So now we calling it America. And then they said it was named after some explorer named Amerigo Vespucci. And then we find out that it couldn't have been named after him because he mainland. He was only island hopping. So when we start challenging the fallacy of the historical record, most people don't know that most people couldn't read before 1900. Literacy rate before 1900 globally was about 99.7%. Okay, so it's 0.3% of the global world population back then that could read and write. The problem was, who was the readers and the writers?
So you mean the illiteracy rate was 90.97?
Well, they call it literacy rate, but that's what they're talking about. How many people could read and write? 0.3%.
0.3%, right?
Before 1900. It looked like a lot because they all concentrated in certain locations. Like the ones over here that was literate was concentrated in capital cities. So now we believe that the ones in the city is more educated than the ones in the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this go back to what we were talking about earlier about Young Elder and me having an assignment, the city slicker and the country boy. Right? And this is so that the people can see that we the same blood, we just was raised on different parts of the land. We the organic people of the land. We've been here so long that it wasn't any here until we built it. This is why Elijah Muhammad say we are the makers, the owners, cream of the planet Earth, gods of the universe. Now, I don't know what this God stuff all about, because we humans, but we professing to be God, but we not doing nothing that God supposed to be able to do, like solve problems. God should be pretty proficient in solving problems because he's supposed to create all the creation in 7 days, and he can't even solve poverty. Why he can't solve poverty? He could build all the creation in 7 days, but he can't stop rape. You can't solve that problem. He created the humans at the end of the process, and we doing all kind of science, but God can't figure out how to stop these babies from getting kidnapped, trafficked, and adrenochrome harvested. So I'm not under the God complex or the subscription of some all-powerful being somewhere else that's in charge of us. I'm from the school of the helping hand that you're looking for is at the end of your own arm. If you don't use that one first, you can't expect the others to aid and assist you because you're not doing nothing to build for self. But as soon as you start using that hand at the end of your own arm, even if it's to pat yourself on the back for the good job you had to do by yourself, long as you using that hand, other hands are going to come and offer you a piece to the puzzle, another brick to the wall. One of them might come with a spatula and some mortar, but when y'all get done, y'all can build an empire. But if we sit here and we allow people to force us into a victim position, the only thing that we know is slaves and reparations, never knowing reparations is the carrot on the stick to make you turn away from your inheritance. Your tribal birthright to govern and control the land, air, and the water under the great law. All of the tribal leaders know this, but some kind of way, there's a disconnect to what we call the tribesmen, the regular people, right? And this is what the whole purpose of being classified under the banner of chief is, to become obligated to teach them and help them wake up from the slumber, even if you don't want to, like me. I had no intention of helping these people do with none of this stuff, but when I got done getting that spiritual spanking, Dr. G, I said, which way you want me to go and who you need me to teach? Didn't nobody hit me upside the head. It was a spiritual spanking. I didn't want no more.
I get you.
Right.
Well,
so
you heard and you heeded the warning. But I want to back up just a little bit. You said something about a lot. We've been through this so many times, and which leads me to a little bit of my more metaphysical mindset. And you and I have touched on it briefly in some of our conversations, but not in any great depth. In terms of reincarnation or regeneration, because we, the soul, the spirit comes back and through various generations to do what we do to complete the missions that we plan. Where if at all, do you think that, or where does that belong in terms of the end game? The end game, if this is a movie, if this is a holographic universe, if this is perhaps us somewhere else in the great mind projecting itself as 6 billion, billion, trillion, whatever, how many beings of points of light or beings on the planet, what is the point? What is the point of all of the discord and the discourse and the who's on top this time and who's the underdog now? What is it on a spiritual, metaphysical level? Break it down, please. Make it make sense to me.
It's a couple things that's what we call signs to point to what we need to see to answer that question. One of them is most of us is unaware that when you're not in the physical body, not only do you not feel physical pain, you don't feel emotions, but you don't feel pleasure, right? You have to go into a realm of opposites in order for pleasure pain dynamic to even have any use, right? This is the Hermetic principle of opposites, polarity, right? Pleasure and pain when you're not in the physical body is the same to you.
Right.
But when you're in the physical body, we would be more hedonistic in pursuit of the pleasure than to be sadistic in pursuit of the pain. Right? So when you're looking at eternal beings that's not gonna never really truly die, they're gonna always exist. What do you do for eternity? What do you do when you get tired of all of the laborers creating universes and galaxies and drilling out black holes and explaining torsion fields and all this stuff? You get done doing all of that scientific construction, and now it's all built. What you gonna do for the rest of eternity? The first half of the eternity you spent creating it. Now, for the rest of eternity, however long it is longer than a lifespan, right? So for the rest of eternity, what will you be doing?
Creating, playing games. Mother Kai always says to me, she's like, I came here to play. We're supposed to be playing, she's like, so I know we're playing roles. Right, I realize that we're role playing, but I think we take life too seriously. This third dimensional existence, I think we take it too seriously, and we don't see the expanse of it because we have been programmed, in my opinion, to structure our thinking with a beginning and an end.
Yeah,
and time and all that. And I saw a movie couple days ago, one back to back, two movies that were, one was almost, I think it was like The Omen. It wasn't the original Omen, but it had something to do with the Omen something. And in this movie, the Catholic Church had been trying for a long time to create the Antichrist. So they had this demon that they were bringing these nuns would come in, or these orphan children, girls, they only dealt with girls, that they would sacrifice to have sex with this thing. And for all of these times they were trying to create the Antichrist. And the reason that they were trying to create the Antichrist is because they believed that the people had lost faith in the church. They had no more fear in the church. So they figured if they brought some destructive force to bear, that it would bring the people in line. So they were going to create this, Damien type, leader that looked like regular people, but would wreak havoc on the world. And I thought to myself, watching this, nothing to me in a movie is just by chance. Normally, when you see those kinds of things, it's really telling you of something that they're doing. I mean, we've seen Rosemary's Baby and all of those different things that have come down through the years.
You know,
But
you're going over all of the blueprints for this character that they call Barack Obama, Barry Del Sotoro.
oh, okay, let's talk about that.
So everybody know is like common knowledge that he was raised by the CIA. He wasn't raised by his parents. He was raised by the CIA. The story starts, the movies are not in order, but I'm going to give you in the order where you could be able to grasp what I'm saying. The first movie is The Demon Seed.
Okay.
So the difference between reality and the movie is this. In the Demon Seed movie, the lady was impregnated by artificial intelligence of a computer. In real life, this is a laboratory creation of a test tube baby. Okay? Now, the lady that had to carry the baby is named Rose Mary.
Mm-hmm.
So they make the movie Rosemary's Baby. Now, the weaving aspect, and I'm going to show you how you figure it all out. In Rosemary's Baby, they determined the baby's father was called a Jackal. Right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
when you watch The Omen, you're not going to hear nothing about the Jackal. Omen 2, you're not going to hear nothing about the Jackal. In the Omen 3, when the priest is explaining to this guy who Damien is, he digs up his grave and there's a jackal's bones in the grave. Now, why is that significant and how do that relate to Obama? Obama is from Kenya. Kenya's totem animal is the jackal. And this is why everybody believes that Anubis is a jackal. Anubis is not a jackal. He's a Mexican Zolo. Zolo, who born in this incarnation, we called him DMX, Earl Simmons, the Dark Man. Right? But we don't know he one of the chiefs because we've been miseducated by the system on purpose, so we won't recognize who they are when they come. Like, we don't know because they got us looking for Sitting Bull as the stringy-haired Mongolian. That's not Sitting Bull. Christopher Wallace is the Sitting Bull.
Biggie.
They know him as the Notorious B.I.G.
And then how about ODB?
That's Chief Crazy Horse. Now, Chief Crazy Horse is a generic term for a Hayoka priest who can convince the enemy that he's totally insane while he's telling everything to the clan they need to know to get free. He's telling them who behind it. He's telling them what organizations they using. It's the CIA, Bush and them niggas. They trying to kill me. They mission. According to the most violent, bloody oath of the papacy, it started off with the opening lines that this agreement is to kill, oppress, murder the kings, the princes, and the people of the land. So when he telling us who it is trying to kill him, it's the CIA. What's their motto, Dr. G? Do you know?
I don't.
Real bad boys move in silence.
Real bad.
Bad boy. What you gonna do?
With the Bad Boys, the new Will Smith. What's his name?
Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
Yes.
Okay, now the Mossad, the military. The Secret Service of Israel has a different motto. Their motto is, by way of deception, we should wage war. So they're going to use lies, falsehood, and misleading information to convince people to support them in a war. The first lie is that God chose somebody over somebody else. That's the first lie. Somebody tell you they God chose somebody over somebody else, that God is a goddamn devil. When God created earth and the people of the earth, they all had a place that they belonged by nature. Now, along come this other God that say, I'm going to kill off all the people on this land and I'm going to give it to you as my promise to you. It becomes known as the promised land. First of all, if you was creating a new species of people, you would have created them in the most unpopulated region of the world where there is no question where they belong.
Right.
Right. So all of the time they telling us this stuff, naturally we feel like the chosen people. Why? Because we had a birthright to the land we own and we displaced. That's the description of the chosen ones. The people over there that left Khazaria, the Prussian mountains, as Moorish banker mulatto offspring, that went into this place called Israel, the Sephardi Ashkenaz, they ain't no chosen people. Because they wouldn't have had to leave their native homeland of Khazaria and go set up a fake homeland on the West Bank. And then when you dig deeper, you find out that the Mossad created Hamas because they needed an enemy. It's the Hegelian dialectic is what it's called. Problem, reaction, solution. 48 laws of power say create an enemy for the people so that you can have something to rally behind. You ain't got to create no enemy for them. The people got an enemy. And we call it government. That's why in the Declaration of Independence, it say whenever the government deviate from these aims, it is the duty, not the right. It is the duty of the people to overthrow it and replace it with a better form of government. Why that's in there? It's supposed to be the perfect government, the Democratic Republic, which is a total oxymoron. Democracy is mob rule, meaning majority rule. A republic is ruled by law. You can't be ruled by both. Right? Now, they got, if you go read the communist writings of early Russia, they all talking about setting up a democracy. When Fidel Castro and Che Guevara and Camilo Cienfuegos was leading the Cuban Revolution, they wasn't setting up nothing called socialism or communism. They was establishing a democracy. Right? When you read in the works of Trotsky, Stalin, Lenin, they all talking about establishing a democracy, but once they get in power, none of these governments are true democracies. Right? And the true democracy is the government where the mothers make the decisions based off the needs of the children of the whole community. That's what the true democracy is, but they villainize the name by using the title and doing the dirt. So now don't nobody want to hear about capitalism, democracy, communism, socialism, fascism. Why? They got us focused on that while they're trying to set up an oligarchy. Right? They want us ruled by corporations. If that don't work, then they're going to have us in what's called a techocracy ruled by artificial intelligence because we don't have enough sense to govern ourselves. Right? How do they prove that we don't have enough sense to govern ourselves? Because we let fully grown adults saturate the minds of our unsuspecting youth with sexual content. And I ain't just talking about the elemental Q community. I'm talking about heterosexuals too. When you start teaching children about sex, you are damaging the future. When they learn it too soon, they become inquisitive, and inquisitive minds want to know. So what are they going to do? They're going to experiment to determine if what you said is valid or not. But if you wait until they old enough to start, why am I growing hair in these strange places? Now you have to explain puberty to them, which is going to take you in a step-by-step discussion on growing up, becoming an adult, learning how to grow up without growing old, protect the inner child. The sexual expression of debauchery is pushed by the society so that they can condemn you with a moral compass that they don't even have themselves. So the people that's giving us our moral compass have no morals. So everything that we chasing in the name of morality, right? It's a efforts of the people to struggle to do right, even when everything around them is going wrong. That's us. So of course, when they say that some people call Hebrews is the chosen people, that feel like me. But I ain't no Hebrew because I ain't from the Middle East. I'm from Mississippi clay dirt. You on mute, Dr. G.
We know that some of those that call themselves Hebrew don't have the knowledge that Hebrew was not the name of a people, but an action, like the Hebrew.
Yeah, it means to cross over.
Cross over, and a lot of us crossed over. A lot of different ones crossed over, so that can't be actually associated with any one, if you will, ethnic group, because many did that, but they tied it to such a way that it appears to be, so people are fighting over being, like you said, being chosen. But before you get too far for that, I don't want you were on a journey about how Rosemary's Baby, the Omen, and all that stuff is a story of what happened with Barry Soetoro, aka Barack Obama. So can we? I don't want to lose that before we.
Okay, so in those movies, that was his adolescent life growing up to become the one that they selected. He have about 7 clones that was born that looked just like him. I was
going to say, I heard before they started taking everybody off of YouTube. You remember a lot of those the Republic people were on there giving all this information, and it was a Secret Service guy who talked about how he was on detail with Barack, and when he got into the limousine, there were like 2 or 3 in the limousine. There were like 2 already in the back, 2 sitting back, 1 or 2 sitting back there, in addition to the one that we were
on detail. Yeah,
on detail. And he said they were all in the same, they have the back dark windows, but basically he said there was more than one in the same limo.
There was originally, when they was originally born, it was 50 of them.
Oh, so they were mass producing like Cabbage Patch Kids.
Right? The story of is the story of Adolf Hitler and the boys from Brazil.
Okay.
So what they did was they found the mummy of Akhenaten, and they cloned him 50 times.
He does look like, if you could put his face over that, and you got the same structure, the same.
The reason why they did so many of them, because they wanted to run tests on most of them. Intelligence tests, Stockholm syndrome related MK Ultra type tests, because they needed to make sure he was properly programmed for the position. Now, why did they choose Akhenaten?
Why?
The reign of the Boy King was interrupted by an assassination. You know who the Boy King was, right?
Right.
Tutankhamun. Yeah. They was call themselves pulling rank on the son by cloning the father. He already had his turn to rule. So now all of the pantheon of deities listed as the powers behind Egypt is in support of the Boy King having his right to rule at the close of the age, because his reign was interrupted by an assassination. So they believed that if they used a particular homosexual ritual on one of the clones of Akhenaten, they can climb Jacob's ladder and artificially insert him into the rulership seat. And so once he was decided which one of the clones they was going to use, he was taught on how to be the president by a brother out of Chicago. He was a blank slate when they brought him to him. He didn't know nothing. He was a clone, but he was a blank slate, because all he wanted him to learn from this guy is how to be a president, how to play the role of a president. Remember earlier you were saying we all playing roles, right? Your ego, right? Your ego is the role that you playing under the name that you use that's built by the society around you. By everything that name inspire people to discuss, everything that you believe to be true about you with that name becomes your ego self. That's your artificial personality created by the society. The true self, because of a spell known as the Amun spell or the Amen spell, as they say in the Christian church, Amen at the end of every prayer. The Amen is actually the God Amun, which means the hidden one, right? And when you follow the hidden priesthood, you find that the Amun priest was at war with the Aten priest. The Aten priest is the priest that tells the people, you have the inner light of the creator that created you from source, if you are from source. If you tune into that inner light, you need no man to guide you anywhere, and all of your steps will be rightly guided, and you will be walking in what we call the path of righteousness. Now, there are some people who has been genetically programmed with computers, because there's computers that interface with your genome. They don't tell us about it because they don't want us to know how far advanced the technology being used to oppress us is compared to the technology that we trying to use to come from under. So once they get you programmed, so they wanted him programmed from an actor on how to play the role of the perfect president. Right. So he took all of the credit for everything G. Dummy and Clinton had got passed. Because remember, before it was Obamacare, it was called, under the Clinton campaign as the universal health care.
Okay.
Right. But when Obama came in office, they programmed us through the George Bush administration on who to vote for when we was chasing Osama bin Laden. We didn't know that meant vote for Obama, Joe Biden. They tricked us with a homonym, and we never saw it coming.
Wow.
So his alleged father is supposed to be from Kenya, the land of the Jackal. Right?
Makes sense. Right.
The Jackal is Rosemary's baby's father. The Jackal is also Damien's father in the Omen. A step further, the counselor for Damien is a priest. And there's a Catholic priest that's overseeing the birth of Rosemary's baby.
Right.
In the structure, we call them Jesuits. They the handlers of the elite to make sure that if they don't do what the church told them to, we got something for you, JFK. We got something for you, Bobby RK. Mm-hmm. Right? And they use this programming because of our genetic memory, recognize certain people. Before we realized who Tut is, Tupac Amaru, Shakur, before we realized his rule was interrupted by an assassination, Vegas. Then we realized how they was going to replace him with his father, Akhenaten. But it's a clone that's been programmed with a computer on how to behave like the perfect president. Right? Now, when you understand metaphysics, you understand that this is called an ancient blood right ritual, and it ain't the first time it been done. Right? It's been used in several times. Alexander the Great is the biggest example, son of Zeus. In Egypt, Zeus is Set. In Sumer, Zeus is Enlil. In Israel, Zeus is Yahweh. All the same person. So they telling us what they did. So Alexander the Great was a clone of the one we call Enlil. And this is why they say he was born to a son of Zeus by the power of the gods, which means science.
Wow. And so when a lot of times when you hear this, you hear them when you like, he's this, he's that, he's that. A lot of folks think, well, he showed up for different people in different instances and they called him something different. But what you're saying is they actually were clones of the same with at that point they were given different names, but they had the same attributes.
Yeah, so
like they were 50 Obamas, there would have been multiples.
Well, there's a reason why they use 50 Obamas. This is what they call the seal of Marduk.
Marduk, the son of Enki or Enlil?
It's actually the science was originally the 50 keys or sciences that was mastered by Marduk, the son of Enki. But Enlil named his son after Enki's son in order to replace him. Right. Enki's son, Marduk, we call him today Malachi York. Right. But he got a sworn enemy that he born with wherever he go, will carry his name, and he's the son of his father's half brother.
So this keeps repeating itself, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that ain't the only one. Ninercine is who they get the Babylonian blood magic, Babylonian sex magic, which is all of the adrenochrome harvested and all that, and the Babylonian money magic that's all written in the Mishnah and the Talmud, but they don't want you to read that. They only want you to read the Torah. Because then you start seeing the dirt that they doing is based on oppressing the people that they trying to overthrow so they can steal something. Right? It's like it's like a blueprint for thieves to follow to make people unsuspecting participants in their own oppression. Ain't nobody oppress you if they don't stay down there with you. So they had to pick a group of us that's going to stay at the bottom and a group of us that's going to keep us there. Right? And the same ones that's holding you down got to be strong as you is to keep you from getting up. And they doing it all with spirit science and the scrolls of government and what Dr. Neely Fuller writed as the 9 areas of people activity. I always add health as the common denominator because none of the other 9 is functional without good health.
True.
Right? So we know that they wrote about it in the Sumerian tablets, the engineering program for the hominids and how they were shortening our lifespan. Today, we know that the human lifespan has been shortened because the telomere, for some reason, doesn't cover the entirety of the chromosomes. Right? We also know about the chemical castration of our lifespan with something called the human aging hormone based on the works of Cynthia Kenyon. Right? So she was a gerontologist out of UCLA Berkeley, and she discovered hormone receptors on the cell that when the hormone is matched with receives whatever it's receiving, the aging hormone, it causes the cell to age. But by artificial means, they can block it, and lo and behold, it triples the lifespan 30 days to 90 days for one of those little worms, right? So this telling you that there's something else done besides just pulling back the telomeres. We also know that at one point in time, the genus Homo, or the human type, had 13-strand DNA.
Right.
They say that they maimed us by scaling it down to 2 strands. That's not true. Scaling us down from 13 strands to 2 strands is an upgrade. Comparative analysis at this point applies. And if you get a 1955 Cadillac and you pull a 2024 STS, one of the first things you're going to notice is the size difference. Right? As technology advanced, we went from having a computer that took up a whole city block to a laptop.
Actually, a phone.
Yeah. So now, when you look back and you see that there's evidence everywhere of giants, right? Understanding the law of entropy help you understand why we're not 50 feet tall no more. For one, we don't have to fight what we call the great lizards or the dinosaurs. So we don't got to be tall enough to put a T-Rex in the headlock now. But we're supposed to be smart enough not to stick our fingers in our face in the alligator mouth. But apparently we ain't, because you got people sticking their face in alligators' mouths and getting their fingers bit off trying to put their hand in their mouth. Right? But we ain't supposed to be wrestling alligators. If you don't believe me, you can ask any Sobek priest. The Sobek priest is the human caretaker of the lizards. Yes, the Sobek is the crocodile god, which is really the alligator god because he's really from Florida. All of the pantheon that you see in Kemet is from the Americas. The Blue Avians, the House of Tahuti, first family of the wise ones, teachers to humanity. Sekhmet, the great priestesses of the mother science, the science that helps the mothers know how to co-opt mothering and make it into a pleasure instead of a pain, right? And if you mess with them babies, you're going to have to calm her down some kind of way, even if you got to get her drunk first. Then you have what we call the House of Heru. This is the priests. The princes, the young male prince who's going to grow up into become an adult. He's going to be an heir to the throne. But if he don't develop himself, he's going to forfeit. Right? So Heru becomes a different god when he doesn't make it to the throne, but it don't mean he not have a purpose. Right? So all of this stuff is being taught to us either purposely backwards or names being changed or details moved out of their order to confuse us. Our genetic memory is what keeps us tied to the Jesus story, because we know that Jesus and Emmanuel is actually Isis and Heru or Horus. Right? We also know that one of Isis's names is Mary. Right? We know that the European tongue, Mary means rebellious woman. But in the Kemetic tongue, it means the noble lady. Difference in character based on the perception of the people. The irony is, Earth was divided up on the matriarchal side into 12 regions. Each big mama was called a daughter of Isis. Collectively, they called the priestesses of Sybil. the civil priestesses, right? Or in modern secret society term, they the Eastern Stars. And they supposed to have 13 regions of the earth, and each one of them is the big mama over a region. And then they have the one who sits on the ISIS seat as the big mama of the planet. And then you just reduce the scale down for the local area, and the same thing applies. Right? The best way to solve the problem, if something is build it the way it's supposed to be built, or run the way it's supposed to be run, and that reduces entropy. But we don't know that the moral decay of a broken society is the entropy of the humans living a certain lifestyle under certain conditions. This just so happened to be the chapter of misery. So the first had to stay the last position because they're the only ones strong enough to stay there long enough for the process. Right? So when you read in Madame Blavatsky's ISIS Unveiled and Secret Doctrine, she always talks about how the gods teach us with these women.
You went down. Your volume went down. I'm not sure if there was something that changed on your side.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Did it go back to regular? Because I might have to leave out and come in. I'm trying to see if somebody called me, because sometimes when I get a phone call while I'm...
It's right now. It's good.
It's straight. Yeah. Okay, so Madame Blavatsky talk about root races, right? What is these root races that she's talking about? She's talking about different civilizations that rose from what we call Stone Age to Golden Age. And she records 5 root races. But nobody don't know what the people of the moon are that she talk about, who they are, and what their function is on the planet, and how to access their power base. The moon people are the people with the milky complexion that belong on Earth. But then you have the ones with the milky complexion that's the byproduct of the lab. So now you got 2 different group of pale faces. The youngest 2 daughters of the daughters of Isis is called Scotta and Scotia. And that's Scotland and Ireland, respectively. Ireland coming out of the house of Scotta, and Scotland is named Scotland because Scotia, the twin sister to Scotta, named it after her sister. Ireland was Orisha land at one point. But because the vowels, Grimm law of grammar say that during the translation, all vowels are interchangeable for pronunciation purposes in order to nail down the correct pronunciation of the word. So when you know that they was originally called Orisha land, and the Orisha priest that wore the serpent armbands for the women and the headband for the men, then you understand that why there's no skeletal remains of a snake anywhere on Ireland, but they tout St. Patrick for getting rid of all of the snakes in Ireland. Those are the Nagas priests. They were little Twa or Bantu Bushmen who settled Scotland and Ireland by the orders of the Queen of Heaven and Earth, who we call Isis. All this stuff is designed to confuse us and mislead us on purpose. And this is why everything that was spoken in riddle must be unraveled. Once the riddles is unraveled, then the riddler got the answer to the joke. Right? So everything that they telling us is not true. So you assume everything to be false until you can validate something. Then you say this is true. But you can't validate it using the scholastic method because it requires you to lean on what they call approved sources. None of your ancestors fall under the category of approved source. If it doesn't have somebody with alphabets behind their name writing it, then they automatically rejected by academia as an unapproved source. They don't got no PhD. Look, Albert Churchward and Gerald Massey, that was the fathers of Egyptology. In modern Egyptian studies, none of their works is recognized by academia as valid. You can't use them for references in your Egyptian studies in university. But they the fathers of Egyptology, the first
Yeah.
to translate hieroglyphics. So why are they not recognized? Because once you study what they telling you, it breaks all of the religious paradigms at the same time. The
Is that what
Muslims
it
don't
means when it,
know.
I was just going to say, is that what it meant in the scripture when it says, if these don't, I always thought when it says, these don't praise me, the very rocks will cry out. And in other words, if these don't acknowledge the truth, the rocks is going to be, what's going to be, engraved in stone is going to tell the truth, or the record, to hold the true record of what, is being distorted.
Yep. And why that's important. Archaeology and anthropology takes us to Harrison Ford, Tomb Raider, in the name of science.
Right.
If you naturally do something, like if you naturally go to the water hole every day at 3 o'clock, I'm a hunter, and I know what you naturally do. You being my prey now, I'm gonna be at that watering hole at 2:45. So by 3 o'clock, when you stroll up to that water hole, I'll be there to get you. They understand how we move based on the sociological studies of humanity. They know when we group up, when we break up groups, what causes both by nature, and then they know how to artificially duplicate nature's response in order to make them break up the ones they don't want together. They call it infiltration of a group. Or to unify the ones they want together, they call it the sudden conversion to a religion. But they know what it is and they know how to do it.
Listen, I remember when I was in the workforce, that they if more than two of us gathered at a water fountain, somebody, and they would go, oh, we need to break this up, because they'll assume that we're plotting an overthrow if there's 3 or 4 standing around the water cooler. That was almost like the mentality that or the not even the mentality. It was sort of like an unwritten expectation that we should not be gathering like that in front of them. There's too many of us, then we're plotting.
And I'm going to give you 3 names, and this is why they don't want us in groups. Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Prosser, Toussaint L'Ouverture. When they catch us in groups, that's what they looking. That's what they expecting us to behave like. Because the way they treated us, they deserve whatever we do to them. They earned it. Not that just we want to be mean to them, but according to, if you give a person his just due according to his works and his deeds, based on what they did to us, we can't never do them that bad. We not psychologically and emotionally equipped to
Or you
do,
crave.
to do the dirt to the magnitude that they deserve based on what they did to us. We barely got the aptitude to protect our own self and our families because of what they done to us. See, in I know you probably gonna remember some of what I'm about to say next. In the 60s and 70s, if you jumped on a brother and he got 5 brothers at home and you whooped him, tomorrow he coming back and all his brothers gonna be with him because they want to see him whoop you. Right? And make sure don't nobody jump in it. Now, if a brother get in the fight and he go tell his brothers, they say, oh, that's cute. I gotta go chase this bag, or I gotta go chase these buns. Right? They not finna. I will bust your whole face up about my brother and be 100% wrong, but I'm not gonna know I'm wrong until it's over with.
Or today, more so than going to make sure there's a fair fight, someone will come out and just pull out the guns and like we gonna end it right there. And that to me is even worse because, like I said, there used to be honest hand-to-hand combat, if you will. Occasionally somebody might have a switchblade, and so you got to be. But nowadays it's just shoot you gone, and we settle it. So yeah, you're right. They don't do that. Get yourself together. That's some strong stuff.
Look,
I would offer you a cough drop, but I can't get it through there to you.
if you eat one, it'll serve me.
Here we go. All right. I got you.
Okay, now look, we ain't just start shooting people. You know what we just started doing? What's new is shooting each other.
Okay.
We ain't.
I'm gonna talk in here like real loud. Hopefully, I can't. It's nothing. I don't know what to do with it, y'all. So if it went down, I got it as high as I know how. I got to get somebody. People are telling me, and they saying it over and over again. We can't fix it remotely. I already acknowledged somebody. Thank you, and that's enough.
Dr. G, let me try to go out and come back in and see if it get better.
It's not you. You
Well,
fine.
the sound went down on my end too. I was gonna ask you because of that reason.
I can hear you fine the same way, but it might be something on this end. But I'm saying to you all out there, I can't do anything about it at this point. So, it is what it is. Put your ear real close on the playback. Turn it up real loud. Okay, please. Stop telling me that the mic's low, and I appreciate it, but don't tell me no more. I heard y'all. Okay.
But I still want to see. I want to go out and come back in because I want to see if I can get to hear you better on my end because somebody called.
You can't hear me. Okay. All right. If you want to go and come back. Woo. Now, they say your volume is great, but now you froze. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I can't audition. See now we done froze him up. Let me see. Let me grab this. Sometimes, if he can, y'all, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can get him back in here. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm not sure what's going on with the sound. I apologize, but I'm not technical. I'm 69 years young, and I don't know all this techie stuff. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Here we are.
Yeah, I can hear so much. I can hear so much better now.
Okay. Somebody said they tapping in. They trying to mess with it. All right, y'all.
Actually, they shut my internet off.
I'm letting. They did.
Yeah, they flashed my internet and it turned off. Wow. When I didn't even get a chance to leave.
Just now?
Yeah. When I was getting ready to go out and I was telling you about it, my whole internet went off and then it came right back on.
You dropping some serious tea. You dropping some serious tea. Did we get all the Obama stuff out? How about Michelle? Michelle, did they make a bunch of hers? Because I heard it was a couple of male ones and a female.
I know it said at least one of them is female for sure, and at least one of them is male for sure.
Okay.
But I do know I've seen about 4 different Michelles.
Wow.
Just the most I counted was 4.
Wow. And the more you see stuff like that on that level, like when I look at the I'm gonna. What's the name that he calls him? Whatever, the praetor or whatever. That one. And I'm here in the same town. He was my 51 years ago. He was my graduation commencement speaker. I graduated from high school and been around them because I work for government, so-called, and that's not him. And I know people see it even that don't have never been in their presence.
You talking about Sleepy Joe?
Yeah, him. That's not him.
Yeah, it's at least 6 different people playing the character because they don't all play him. Like one of them don't play him for a whole week straight most of the time. But the one the one I call him his stunt dummy is Jim Carrey. When he fall upstairs, trip on stage, that's Jim Carrey. When he give a coherent, authoritative speech, that's either James Wood or this dude named Arthur something. I don't remember his last name, Beckenworth or something. But those are the two when he's talking like he got good sense and he really about it. That's who they use for that. But when they
aviator glasses on, the one that wears the cool one wears the aviator glasses.
Yeah, but the one that do all of the goofy stuff, that Jim Carrey did the same thing in the movie Mask. Like when he said, "I can describe America in one word," that's Jim Carrey.
Wow.
Right. And once you go back and watch Mask, every time Jim Carrey is playing Sleepy Joe, you're gonna bust out laughing because you're gonna catch it. He's gonna always do something to tell you that it's him this time. Right. The other ones, they don't want you to know because they want to keep the charade up. But Jim Carrey be trying to make it leak. But he can't say it outright under the threat of death. If he tell it, then they gonna murder him. So he don't tell it, but he put it in his performance as an artistic expression of the character played. Remember, we all playing characters.
Absolutely. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Wow. So but we know that even what's coming down the pike, like the difference, folks are concerned about their future when it comes to, you seeing all of the things that were put before us for all these years, all these many years, all of the so-called I don't even want to call them luxuries, but we've taken life for granted that certain things would always be like they always were. And now we're finding and seeing that they're not. Even when you were talking earlier about what our children are exposed to, I remember I grew up in the era of Lucy, I Love Lucy, and Lucy and Desi and Lucy slept in twin beds, right? If you saw them in bed, one was in one little bed and they were in the same room, but they were in 2 separate beds, and it was like a nightstand between them. So anything that happened was left up to the imagination. At any given time, at any time of the day, a child can turn on one of these, especially because we have streaming channels. A child could turn on a channel if they don't have parental locks and stuff on it, and see graphic sexual content, hear graphic, language and so forth. And so there was a time when there was I don't know what they were called, but there were a lot of things that they wouldn't even let them put on TV because it was the things today. Those guys back then, what's his name, Mitchell or whatever they're probably doing backflips in their grave if they're still in there with the stuff that they used to say you can't put on. The stuff that's on here now is what the old X-rated stuff.
So remember in the old movies, a kiss was a face smash. You just press lips. I don't know if you remember, but it was a soap opera that had what's called the first tongue kiss. It was a big deal in the news. It was all Nightline did a segment on it, 60 Minutes. It was a big deal. Are we going too far with the content? Now they got whole men dressed like women with thongs on, and they think that's normal. It's not normal.
Everything. Yeah, everything is designed, like you said, I believe, to tear down the moral fiber of families, of having control over or being able to have some type of level of input into the upbringing of your children. Now, I realize that times change. I do know that. And I know children are coming in here. Excuse me, they say every generation will be weaker and wiser. And so when I think about weakness, I'm not thinking so much as strength in the, like that, but maybe even would more succumb, be weaker to when it comes to the various forms that are going to be coming at them, these temptations and so forth. But they know a lot. They came in, they're like the cavalry coming in, said, put me in, I want to go. They signed a contract to come down here and be disruptors, to be change agents and so forth. And so how do we work together? How do we work along with these young people who obviously they want to mess their heads up so that they won't stay on task and stay on assignment? So what do we do? What do you see as how we get our children focused on where our people need to go and what their role is in getting us there?
The first thing we need to do is cut our children off from the program that they use for social programming, and they call it school. If you look the word school up, SCHOOL, and you do the etymology, it's going to come from a Yiddish word, SHOOL.
Sure.
When you trace the Yiddish word, you're going to end up with a Hebrew word, Sheol, SHEOL.
Is that it? Are we getting to hell now?
And when you translate the Hebrew Old Testament, everywhere you see hell is the same word that we're using for school, Sheol, hell. The abode of darkness, the dismal abyss. So the first thing we have to do is take on the responsibility of teaching our children ourselves, in forming family groups. That's why the sister support circle is critical. It's where we came up with it take a village to raise a child. The women's support group or the mother support group, they supposed to form into mother groups that can help each other, give each other breaks, problem solve with the local whatever going on. You got a group of bad kids picking on this group of good kids. How are we gonna handle it? We're gonna go to their parents. We're gonna, whatever we need to do to solve the problem to make sure that the bad kids don't hijack the school and take over the good kids. So that's our first order of business in alphabetical order, in the order of importance of Neely Fuller's 9 areas of people activity. The first thing is economics. Second thing is education. So when we look at a child that's misbehaving, he's not misbehaving. He's rebelling against oppression, but he don't know what he's rebelling against because he hasn't accumulated the life experience to know. And they've cut youth off from the elders by villainizing people for being over a certain age, and then villainize the ones that's under a certain age to the seniors. So now you got old people can't stand these little new badass kids, and then you got the young generation can't stand the most shrivel up old creepy motherfuckers over there.
See, that's why I'm in another place. I find I'm right in the middle between.
But being in the middle, you can get to see the error of the old people that's assuming all of the young people are bad, and the error in the young people in thinking that because they old, that they don't give proper guidance. Well, we used to have mandatory sessions. This is why we was always spending the weekend with Big Mama, all of the cousins, because she was going to teach us the family history. but they got caught teaching it. They got murdered so many times that now they just have the family over and spend quality time and try to imprint on them with their energy to fill in the family. Right. So a lot of us remember 15, 20 children in the house, sleeping on pallets on the floor, got their little blanket and pillow rolled up in the corners, got some on the couch, all the bedrooms full. One of them might have one of the uncles and aunties that's married, so they got to have their privacy, right? So we all remember that that's over a certain age, but now you can't get two good mothers to get together to help each other because they always worried that the other one trying to get over them. That's the capitalist part of the society we living in. In the capitalist society, everybody's looking for a capital gain. That's a financial windfall over somebody else. It's not us against us, it's us against the system. Rage against the machine. But we don't want to confront the machine because individually we helpless to fight the machine, but collectively the machine is helpless to fight us. The machine being aware, those who's programming the machine being aware of this, go always try to make it look like the machine is winning, even when they losing miserably like now.
And that's important for us to keep in mind, to bear in mind. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the illusion that's being put in, across the television or even across the internet, because that's the World Wide Web. And so there's so many things that are keeping us, from one thing to another. I know Kat said this 2024 was going to be a year of exposure. And so far, 6 months in, up to the year, I don't know how many people, we still got 6 more months to go. And so that's happening, but they would make sure that that's happening since they set that up as a point of distraction for us. But it's getting to the root of what it is we need to be doing in the interim. And I know, it's hard sometimes to completely ignore the things that are going on, but then there's certain things that are going on that we need to be given close attention to. I think that we are not seeing the importance of. I don't know how many people outside of folks like you all that come on programs like this one or Black Magic or Dane Calloway or even some of these other shows that come on and bring this kind of information. Other than that, who knows what's really going on? Is the world about to be blindsided, or are people in mass? Because I know we're not the majority. And when I say not the majority, I mean the ones that are open and awakened to the deception. Most folks are still, in the dark with regard to it.
Yeah.
They still believe the government is for the people.
Yeah, it's the government responsibility to make sure that everybody have running water from a fresh source of water. It's the government responsibility to make sure that the roads are done. It's the government responsibility to provide you with the resources that the collective is deemed to be the curriculum. It is the responsibility of government to ensure that your house have gas now and electricity. The problem is the government has convinced us that paying the bills is normal. It's not normal. The functions of government has been privatized and monetized by outsiders at our expense. So as long as we're not aware that they actually using our value as collateral in the central banking system, and that they hired the IRS as collectors. Go back to the Robin Hood. He was always fighting with the tax collector, right? And what's the theme of Robin Hood? Steal from the rich and give to the poor, right? Right. So his number one enemy is the tax collector. The only reason that you have to pay taxes is because of your national status. You didn't get to determine your own national status, what nation you are in allegiance with, because each one of the tribes is their own individual nation. But they all functioned as tribes on the land in harmony until 1492 when they brought school to our door. Literally, they brought hell to our door. They took our good nature, kind disposition, our lack of greed as making us soft and easy to conquer. And then they was in for a rude awakening in Florida, Louisiana, Haiti, and in Michigan. So the French lose 2 or 3 major conflicts, they have to go back home. What did they do when they left? They sold the Protectorate Agreement Treaty to the American so-called government. They actually sold it to the Crown of England under the pretense of giving the protectorate rights to the U.S. government. And they used the Lewis and Clark expedition to survey the castles to determine if the royal families of the land was here. We was all fighting the Gullah Wars, and they was well aware of this. When they sent Lewis and Clark out, they had a translator with him that looked like us. They called him Big Ben Bay, Benjamin Banneker, the designer of Washington, D.C. The reason why Masonic symbols in the layout of D.C. because those are conjure sigils. In order to enforce the conjure doctrine called the Constitutional Agreement, they needed to, because the elders put the curse on Philadelphia, which was the capital that was supposed to deal with these newcomers. And when they started lying and kept getting caught lying to us, deceiving us, and just using all kinds of deception to subjugate us, one of the tribal mothers put a curse on the matriarch's meeting house in Philadelphia. When the empress went and sat in that matriarch seat, while she was doing that, the curse was being recited in order for it to be reversed in another room by another elder, right? And she was channeling the conjure, reciting back what was being said when they put the curse in Philly. Now, Philly is going to start going back to its original brotherly love image, where they're looking out for each other, because that conjure. Now they have us believing that Philadelphia means city of brotherly love, that Philadelphia, it's not what it means. It's the lover of the oracles. It's Philos Delphi. Philos is the intense love. Delphi was the oracle priestesses, right? So that's what it really means. But because they trying to usurp the matriarch's patriarchy, they say that Philadelphia means brotherly love. Anything to, this is why we say it's a drag race. We chasing drag queens across the land. It's not saying nothing derogatory or malicious toward drag queens. Is to identify that all of these people seated as mayors, that's men, are masquerading as a town mother. They hold in the position, but they don't hold the right to the position. The meeting of mayors, when all of the mayors come together for the annual convention, it was called the meeting of. If you look up a Congress of mayors, you will see what I'm talking about.
You broke up. So it was called the meeting of what?
mayors. This the Congress of Mayors is a mayors.
Okay.
Everything we did was named after something related to the animals around us. The town mother is the mayor. She is the mother of the town. If she would
Like
have
a
been
female
supposed to have
horse.
been the father,
Mayor's horse, the
yeah,
female horse, the mayor. Okay. Okay.
and
All
the
right.
stallion is the male.
The male. Okay.
Okay, so if it was a male seat, you wouldn't have a town mayor. You'd have a town stallion.
You have Megan the Stallion. Oh.
Uh-oh, leave Joshua Pete out this. Josh minding our own business.
Okay, I just had to say it. I looked that up and I was like, why would she be called both those names? But anyway, I digress. So, okay, the mayor should be female. So, all right.
That's supposed to be the town mother.
And mothers, okay.
Right. So we know that under the tribal people that was here, they all gave the final say to Big Mama, the tribal mother, the clan mother. Now, all of her seats being usurped by patriarchs, but they have to leave you a way to discover the fraud. They can't totally block you from figuring it out, but they can drop misleading information to lead you astray. Remember, the congressmen and senators didn't have a year-round job until the 1900s. At first, they would only meet a couple times a year. It's even in the Constitution that they shall meet this many times a year. Right? So now it's a 12-month-a-year job, 365 days a year. They're always legislating. Your number one red flag, you on mute, Dr. G.
Why don't they have term limits?
They ain't supposed to be there, first of all. That's why. That's the number one reason. If you somewhere you not supposed to be and you reaping benefits for it, you're gonna stay long as you can. The reason they don't have term limits is because the town mother didn't lead a position until she went with the ancestors into the ancestral realm. That's why they don't have term limits. All of the term limits was placed to check power, to make sure that one person don't have power for a prolonged period of time. Because they have to keep changing the people that's wielding the power on the surface so that it'll look like we participating in the governing of ourselves when we not. We don't have nothing to do with the government. But the government not gonna never tell us the truth unless we Supreme Court rulings. In the Supreme Court rulings, they have already told us that those treaties that did not sign, those clans that did not sign treaties was classified as belligerent or dependent nations. This the Supreme Court ruling. It's already on the public record from the Supreme Court. Well, what do the tribes don't have treaties that need these people gone? What do we need to do to get them off our land? All we have to do is what Elijah Muhammad said, accept your own and be yourself. When we start following what our ancestors used to do, then their system starts to deteriorate in our face. Right? Every time we make a move in the public, that move has a monumental impact on the destruction of this false system. Like after emperors left, they put the Senate bill in order to outban the Federal Reserve. Right? Then when she got back And then what happened on the heels of that, the chairman of the Fed stepped down. Klaus Schwab on World Economic Forum also announced he was stepping. All this happened because she went and took back that matriarch seat in Philadelphia. Her genetics is the same as the banking codes for the organic people's account. So everything she do benefiting the collective, it's unaware of it, where the biggest problem is for our people right now. We overthrowing the system in real time, and the system is falling according to the moves that she make. The more clan mothers that's doing the work of a clan mother, every elder woman not doing clan mother work, but all of them that's been doing the work have their work as their witness, not people. And from the work, when they start making, people think you got to have a whole political dialogue. No. The clan mothers who's doing the clan work only have to make pleasantries and greet each other and meet each other. So now you know where the clan mother from Louisiana, 5th Ward, New Orleans, we know where she at. We know where the one from Houston, you know, from the 9th Ward, you know, this is just rough examples. This is not like the real thing. I'm just giving examples. So once the resource is released, the whole banking system of the corporate legal fiction is done, right? And when that's done, she brings the wealth to the organic people of the land. In the way that the structure of government go, the local town mothers are to find out the resources most needed in the area and to give it back to the matriarchal council in order to allocate the resource required in order for them to build their community and to restructure their community so that there's more people involved in how the local community run. We don't participate in it for a reason. It's not our system. This is why they had, when they was barring us from elected office, when they was doing that so that we realize it's not our system. This system does nothing for us, but still all of our wealth from the land. And they got mines everywhere. Coal mines, salt mines, gold mines, silver mines, iridium mines, copper, bauxite, aluminum, they all over the land. That's Big Mama stuff, and you stealing from Big Mama, and now you about to piss me off. Because if I run out of something, I can go to Big Mama and get anything she got. So when you steal from her, you're going to make me angry because all you had to do was ask, and she would have gave you whatever you needed, but she might not give you everything that you want. But she will make sure your needs is met.
So
but you have to do something.
I was going to ask you, how is that going to work? Folks are not, are hearing about it. And they're going, okay, so when are we going to see evidence of what was in? Like I said, I was in Philadelphia. Matter of fact, we had the honor of her first stop after, she had been seated, her coronation, for her to do what she did at Delaware.
In Delaware.
And so that happened here.
So let's go over right quick, Dr. G, before you go further. Let's talk about the Delaware. The reason why she had to go to Delaware after the coronation first is because Delaware was the first state incorporated the legal fiction. Also, all of the corporations that's exploiting
they don't want you to say this.
Right. So part of reclaiming what's ours is we have to put boots on the ground in key places. We don't got to go to every square inch of the land, but we have to go to key places and by our presence being there, we moving with spirit in order to restore the matriarchal systems of the earth, the natural earth order. People believe because we talk about matriarchy, they think that it's patriarchy in reverse, which is not the case. Feminism, on the other hand, is the other side of patriarchy. And it doesn't benefit the women and it don't benefit the children and it sure as hell don't benefit the men. As a matter of fact, it's directly belligerent to the men in order to make the men fight the woman to stay in power. It's all psychological warfare being used. So now that we've been successfully saturated with the feminist dogma, we believe that when people talk about the matriarchy, that's what they make in reference to. The big difference in matriarchy and feminism is structure. The matriarchal structure is all of the women surround the children, all of the men surround the women. The children is in the inner circle because that's our promise for tomorrow for us to come back. The women are the caregivers and the guides to the children, and the men are the protectors of all of them. That's under matriarchy. Under feminism, the woman married the richest, most powerful man she can marry in order to have enough power to look better than the rest of her sisters. Total vanity, and it makes no sense. And it's counterproductive to humanity, showing that their humane self, right? And the irony of the whole feminist agenda is the founding feminists was drag queens.
Wow.
So you got men dressed up like women to tell the women how to be belligerent to the men instead of telling them how to find the harmony with their counterpart in order to raise the best children for the best tomorrow. Because what we put into these babies is going to determine what the future look like. I don't care what they say.
Absolutely.
That's something that you cannot change. When these children become our age, this going to be their world. If we still here to see it, we on our way out, and we just happy that we was able to do a good job to get them the tools they need to create a better future than the past that we already went through. We're not victims. Stop letting people tell you you're a victim. The reparations carried on the stick. They can't pay you reparations if you get back what's rightfully yours. Because once you get back everything that's rightfully yours, they don't have anywhere to get a reparation from. Because we back for everything they owe. It just so happened they owe us everything. If we give Big Mama back her bank, we ain't gonna have to worry about who gonna have some money because we all rich. Big Mama believe in sharing wealth. And all her baby boys do too, like me. I will fight tooth and nail for you to get your shit, but I don't want your shit. I want my own shit. That's because I'm fighting for you tooth and nail for you to get yours. I'm waiting on mine because once I get all of y'all gonna take care of me till I get mine. I could fight for mine after I get done fighting for my mom and my sisters to get their stuff back. And then while they processing to figure out what I got coming, my sister's gonna take care of me because I got their stuff back. They're gonna show gratitude. Gratitude changes everything. This is getting back to the love of the family. Everybody that's related to us ain't family. This is where a lot of people got twisted. You have relatives by blood that's not family by relationship. There's no common bond of affection between the two because you know this person in your bloodline is a piece of shit. We all know, we all got them in the family. The one that's going to steal out of everybody's house they go to so don't nobody invite them to nothing. You think he ain't going to other people's house with your family name, stealing stuff, making the whole family look bad? Right? So We all got those ones in the family that we've been hearing about our whole life. Stay away from him because he touched the kids. Why is he still here? Why ain't nobody corrected that behavior? Because the women was so scared of the good men being teamed up on by the system with this bad man that they didn't want to lose the good man at the expense of the bad man. We hear when it comes to the children, that's the future. We expendable at that point. All of us. All of us is expendable when it comes to protecting the children because we can come back. This is why they don't want you to know you an eternal being because you think you can come back and fix it later.
And that's it. That's one of the, like I said, that's what one of the biggest roles of the and deceptions of the the Vatican and their church, to keep people in fear of one and done. And it's never been the case.
And right in the same book that they telling us condemns reincarnation, tells us that Jesus was Elijah and John was Elisha.
Mm-hmm.
So if reincarnation is a myth, how is this even possible?
That's true. That's true.
Right. Then if you think that they don't have sarcophagus back then is what they was called, that heals the body of all ailments, including old age, then you will never understand how they seen Abraham at the Mount of Olives. But all of them is mythological tales that betrays intimate truths that they don't want you to know, but they obligated to teach you in order to fall into what's called divine law. Under divine law in a free will universe, you can do whatever you want to as long as the person you're doing to it agree, and there's more than one way to agree.
Can you repeat that? Because you kind of broke up.
Mm-hmm. I say under universal law, you allowed to do whatever you want to do to somebody as long as they agree. And it's more than one way to agree. You can agree to a good old-fashioned ass whooping if you come walk up to somebody out of nowhere and collar them up and push them to the ground. But at that point, they agreed to the ass whooping you about to give them. They agreed. Matter of fact, not only did they agree, they insisted that I obligate them to fulfill this ass whooping that they so vehemently agree to receive. And that's our contract. So lead with love, but master the throat punch. If you lead with love, most of the time you don't have to use the throat punch, but sometimes people take your kindness for a weakness and try to abuse you. And under the universal right to defend your life, as the first law of nature, self-preservation implies, as soon as they violate, you obligated to defend yourself. So,
like you said, when you make these agreements, folks don't realize. I had there's a sister that I'm familiar with, and I remember her giving a story about being bullied as a child growing up. And I don't know whether she had an out-of-body experience, a dream, or whatever it was in her adult life, because she still was haunted by being bullied, being always feeling less than. And she has this either dream or maybe she had an out-of-body experience. I don't want to tell the story wrong, but the bottom line was, in this dream or this experience that she saw, all the people who had bullied her and she along with her were at like say you had an NDE, a near-death experience, and they were up and they were reviewing the events of her life, and they were patting each other on the back, including her, for the roles that they played. Oh, when I told you that, when you called me that, oh, that really hurt. That was good. You did that well, and they were actually complimenting each other for the roles that they had played, even the bad, what would be seemingly bad, negative. And she saw this, that, like, again, we're all playing a role. So you always have the protagonist and the antagonist, in the characters, just like we see in the movie. They say the good guys always, finish first or last or whatever but in any event, she saw the people that she thought were her enemies. She found out that they were just characters in her life path in that particular incarnation, that they had all agreed to play these roles before incarnating. Mm-hmm. And so which is what we're doing. Even if we're fighting and championing truth and getting our people out of this, it's still a role. It's still a role. And when we leave here, we're going to be able to see how well we did in the role. And even the ones we call dirty or low down and unscrupulous, they're playing roles. And the other part is, we are all the same. We realize that we came from the same source, still connected, but projecting out as these various incarnations. What do you say to that?
You remember earlier when we was talking about that, when you in the physical body, you have pain responses, pleasure responses, and then you have emotions. Emotions is your navigation system. The more proficient you get in reading your emotions, the better you can navigate the life into frequency that you choose it. Now, the reason why they're going over this information is because no longer in the physical body, you realize that you're able to successfully draw the emotion, capitalize on it, and utilize energy. And then that's why when you go out the physical world, now you looking at how you was able to move a person through their range of emotions as they antagonist, or how you was able to go through a range of emotions as a victim.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So in the looking at it from the God eye, as soon as you take emotion out of it and you take pain and pleasure out of it and you look at the problem again, that's called the neutral position. The solution is always in the problem. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you start looking at it, the problem solving of critical thinking and practical problem solving skill set, you start seeing that life plays out different for different people, because the sense of I, the ego self, the id, is navigating and is experiencing life for the higher self or the spirit body. The process of shadow work, used to call it the purification of the ego. By purifying the ego, you allow the higher consciousness to come in and drive the car as the primary driver instead of a backseat driver. But your ego, greedy, don't want to get out the driver's seat and don't want to give up the steering wheel, don't never know where the hell he's going, always asking for directions, but won't never listen to the higher self that he got sitting in the back seat. Because he keep putting the same kind of people in the passenger seat to give them directions, and they don't know where they're going either.
True.
The only one in the car that know where they're going is the true self that you got delegated to the back seat as a meaningless passenger. When they're the only passenger in the vehicle, that means something. Your ego has successfully taken over. Wow. Right. So from the standpoint of the physical world, yeah, this is real until you leave it.
Yeah.
Once you leave it, then you be like, that was a pretty good game we played, just like
And
Fortnite.
detached from it, like you said, the emotion, folks will say, my sister had an NDA, and she, and anything I've ever seen of people, they were like, I had no feelings about that body and or those people until I was given an option that I could come back and maybe make a difference in so and so's, or world, or somebody's particular life. But they were like, but I had no attachment to it. I had no more emotion, like you said. And the place of neutrality is, I believe, a place we need to get to, even in dealing with situations just like we're confronted with now. And my friend Barbara Simmons wrote a terrific piece that just helped me tremendously about that, because it was about distractions, and how to become the neutrality. And it's like when people say, if you're being mindful, seems like to me mindful would mean your mind is full of stuff. But when you're talking about mindfulness, they're talking about allowing things, you see them and you don't engage in the things. You let the things, pass by as you see these things. And then the other thing was called lastly, disengagement, because the place of seeing and not getting involved was like not dealing with the knowledge of good and evil. In other words, being neutral, non-judgmental. And we judge so many things, and I believe that's what they want us to do. When you get caught up in the judgment part of life, you get waylaid on your road to the path to fulfilling your destiny and your purpose. But you can see it, but not be it. See it and not become entangled with it. Still, okay, that's that. Doesn't mean that you don't care about what's going on outside of your periphery, but it means that some things are just meant to be seen and not tackled because they're not your assignment.
Dr. G, I tell people all the time, because people be like, I be hearing my cousins and sometimes my sisters and sometimes the homeboys, they got to tell a motherfucker something. Well, I got to go tell him what's on my mind. No, you don't.
Right.
No, you don't. Somebody cross you, the best thing to do is leave them on red in your mind. You don't have to tell them nothing. Let them figure it out. They might learn a lesson figuring it out that they will never learn if you got to go tell them something.
Absolutely.
When you start walking from that perspective where I don't got to tell the motherfucker nothing unless I choose to. You are not looking at now trying to make people behave like you. We supposed to have disagreement. We not supposed to all believe the same thing.
True.
Some of us, we supposed to come from different backgrounds and perspectives, but what we supposed to do when we meet is eye to eye, face to face on the square, right? Everything is level. That means balanced. If you balance and you meet an off-balance person, if you maintain your balance, you serve as a counterbalance to balance them out.
There you go.
But if you feed into the negative energy because you got to tell them something, right now you become a willful participant in whatever destruction follows, which means you get whatever you ask for, even if you don't say it out loud. You can ask for something with your actions and deeds that you don't have to say out your mouth.
That's true.
Right? If I go lay down on the expressway on the other side of a curb where nobody can see me, I'm gonna get ran over. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, because I'm in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing that would be the right thing if I was at home in my bed in the right place. Mm-hmm. But because I chose to do this destructive behavior, doing the right things in the wrong place, I'm gonna suffer the consequences of that behavior. You can't go take a nap on the train tracks when you know the train gonna come before you wake up and don't expect to get hit. The train can't stop. Right? So actions and consequences, this is why people don't really want to be accountable. Because you're not only accountable for how you treat people, but how you force other people to treat you. If you
That's
force
deep.
somebody to treat you with abuse, and when you get abused, the universe is saying you got what you wanted.
That's right. That's so true. That is so true. And you create your own outcomes, and so and I want to say this while we're as we're wrapping up. I get calls every day. Like today, I got a call. And I won't say what it's about, but I get calls every day about something. And a lot of times people will, and I'm sure you get this too because of you're such a knowledge base, but people will just assume that I know the answer to everything, every problem that they have, every question that they have. If they call and I answer the phone, then I have the answer. And I assure you, I do not. And I used to get upset with myself for not having the answer until it dawned on me that I don't know everything. And all I have to do is tell somebody or tell someone, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that problem, or that I don't know how to help you with that. Now, what I will do is often times say, but if I think of someone, that might be able to help you, then I don't have a problem referring you to them. But I used to think that because they called me and because I tell them that I don't have the answer, which is never suffices, because even after you tell them you don't know, then they continue to tell you what it is their problem is. So you were like, now they just dumping on me to make it push me a little bit further to find a solution to their problem. But then I think that's not my role. That's not my role. My role is to respond to that which I do know, and to be honest about what I don't know. And so, I try to let people know I'm not putting them off, but I'm not all things to all people. And I don't have all knowledge. I don't know everything, but people don't sometimes think because you're in this arena, or because I work so closely with Grand Sheik Taj Tariq Bey, or because I know, people like Chief Pontiac and others, that I somehow have been downloaded with everything y'all know. No, I haven't. And even you all will admit you don't know everything.
Not quick to tell a person if I don't know something I don't know. But better believe me, you ain't gonna ask me that same question about the same thing, and I'm gonna tell you I don't know twice.
But they expect you to know everything. People expect it.
Yeah.
And I believe within ourselves, we have the answer to everything. If you just go within, sometimes you will get the answers that you seek. The answers, I don't know how many times after I've slowed down, stopped worrying about something, the answer comes when I just quiet my mind down. And then the answer, it may be my own situation that I'm trying to answer, not necessarily somebody else's, but a lot of things, if people would just take the time to be meditative, put it out in the universe, what it is you're seeking, the answer comes. And they don't always come in a way that you might think is the answer, but it might be in a song, or it may be something that came across the TV, or somebody might call you about something totally different. And then you realize, whoa, wait a minute. And, it might be something you see out in nature, but I realized answers to everything almost that I have questions about come to me if I just slow down and stop and not worry about it, not try to squeeze it out. Because as the older I get, the more things I'm trying to find out my brain to hold on to cognitively. So I was like, I'm stopping worrying about it. It'll come when the time comes. And people who think that the answer to all of their problems lie in someone outside of themselves, that I need people to start going within. I wish more people would go within. And then on top of that, when you get it from somebody else and it's not really what you want, now you blaming them, but they didn't solicit you, ask them for this help. People are sometimes feel obligated to give people a response, and many times it's not the right or the correct response for their situation, but you wanted an answer.
You know the worst thing somebody can tell me, Dr. G?
What's that?
I should have listened to you. You was right. That pisses me off so bad. You came to me and asked for the answer to the problem. I gave you the answer, but because it wasn't the answer you wanted, or because you didn't want the answer to be able to come from me when you asked me the question, you don't apply the information and then find out I was right. And then you got to come back to tell me that I was right. I don't need to be validated. I knew I was right when I gave you the answer, and because I got the reference proof, right? But people love to come back and say, I should have listened to you. You was right. Mm-hmm. And that just pisses me off because that's mean that you didn't even go investigate what I said until such and such happened. Now you find out I'm right. You want to come tell me I was right when you could have avoided this calamity altogether.
Right. It's true. That is so true.
Look, so true. We was at work. This is the most amazing stuff. I talked to, it was a bunch of old pale faces there, right? And I used to talk to them all the time. So they come ask me questions and ask me where can they find certain information, whatever, different topics. So one day the sister came up to me and she asked me a question and I gave her the answer, right? She didn't want the answer I gave her. So she asked the pale face. He say, I don't know, but I'll go get the answer and I'll let you know when I find out. He come to me to ask me the same question that she asked me. I gave him the same answer I gave her. He go back, give her the answer I gave him, and she came back to me to tell me I was right.
You knew you were right.
I said, well, how did you figure out I was right? Well, I asked such and such, and he said the same thing you said. I said, do you want to know why? She said, why? I said, because he ain't even got the answer for me. Now she flustered. And I used to tell people all the time, to this day, I tell people that I deal with, I be like, look, if you don't want the truth, please don't ask me the question. Because you might not like the answer. If you're not prepared to receive the answer that's not what you expected, because I'm not going to just tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you the answer to the question is the best of my ability. It's just so happened that most of these questions I asked myself and didn't have nobody to go ask, so I went and figured it out. I went and did research to find something that support when I figured it out to determine if anybody else had the same conclusion. And then you find out that a lot of the same conclusions come after a while. I stopped looking for answers in books. I started looking at references to give it to other people so they don't have to believe me no more. You can believe the author of this book now because he put it in the book, making his answer more valid than mine in your mind, because that's why your academia trains you in a.
Before we go, Chief, there's a couple of questions that are on the same topic. They want to know about the Russian subs in Cuba. Your thoughts on that?
This is a reenactment of the Bay of Pigs incident. Everything we see going into a conjure, you got to see it coming out if the conjure is successfully reversed. The conjure that they reenacted was the Jesuits' conjure when JFK wouldn't do business with them. The speech that he gave is called Separation of Church and State, where the Jesuits came to him because he was a Catholic to do the bidding of the Catholic Church, and he turned them down. That was one of the straws that broke the bull's back to his assassination. Or should I say assassination attempt? I don't even know how I want to phrase it. But these different entities being involved, they reenact it to let you know that it's been overcome. because you've seen it again coming out the other end. All of the conjures had to be closed for the new age to come in. This is one of the laws of magic. When you become a priest and you become responsible for exorcising demons ain't nothing like the exorcist. The real exorcism of the demon is to tell the people how the system is holding you oppressed, what you can do to break free, and then show them a living example. Right? So every time we tried to get free, they either murdered us or incarcerated us. So now, when the close of the age is coming, all of the chiefs are indisposed. You can't make a claim for your birth. The people who established this system is fully aware of it. So this is why COINTELPRO was being so instrumental in taking the leadership out of the community, because if they locked up, they can't make a play for the government to be replaced by the tribal systems, because the chief is indisposed. They court action, because for everything they do, we have to have a remedy for their attack. When they start taking all of the chiefs off the land by assassinations and by incarceration, the chiefs then have to rely on the next set of chiefs coming up behind them to feed them information through various methods to get them to understand the problem, who's behind the problem, how to get out of the situation that the problem has us in, and how to be able to utilize the power, strength, and intelligence of those incarcerated chiefs to the advantage of the most people. The goal is, if you can liberate the most tribes by speaking up for their indisposed leader, it gives you tribal clout among the other tribes. So every chief that fall at the hands of the enemy, the more chiefs I speak up for, the more status I gain among our people, which shows up as an algorithm, is why you were saying push the like button. Right? Because the algorithm tells them how conscious and aware we are, who we looking at for information. And they already know who he is, and they already know that I'm not going to say nothing about it until I know what I'm talking about. Like, people asking me all the time about Nasara. I say, you got to watch Dr. Kia Pruitt. She is the one responsible for that financial angle to keep us updated and informed. I got to tell you who to go to.
Yeah, she was in the chat tonight, so shout out to Dr. Kia. Yeah. But speaking of,
so
here we go. Go ahead.
So when I tell them, like, for instance, we was talking about earlier, not knowing the answer, I could tell them who's competent at giving them the answer. That's the same as giving them the answer.
This is true.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've spoken with the governess, Miss Dean. It's on the Young Elder channel. She know what's going on with what I'm talking about. I spoke to Dr. Kia on there. She know what I'm talking about. She's seen the receipts, and she's seen a lot of this work that I've been doing. Right. I got tarot readers like Brittany Madison. I have her do tarot spread to show the people that I'm not the only one saying this. Ain't no two tarot readers gonna tell you the same thing and they can pull the exact same card spread.
That's true.
They still gonna interpret it different. So when you get 5, 6, 7 oracle readers telling you the same thing, that's a direct message from spirit. They're not gonna come up with the same answer. And sometimes most of the time they pull in a whole different set of cards from between different readers. But when the answer is consistent and they pull in different cards, that's how you know that the message is accurate.
Right.
It's just like two people listening to the words of a song. And for the first time, neither one of them is going to be able to recite the song the way it's being sung. They can only recite it how they heard it.
So,
knowledge.
Go ahead. I'm going to ask you before we go, the chiefs and knowing who they are, and maybe you can or cannot say and respond to this. I'm not sure. Thinking in terms of, I want to say Michael Jackson, Tupac, and for example, Nipsey Hussle, maybe even Prince, are some of these chiefs that had to give the appearance of going in order to be available at a later time to do what they have to do, or are we looking at more of a reincarnation of them?
Some of them, right? Some of them. Okay, go back to the Tupac situation. He's quoting Machiavelli.
Right.
Okay, now Machiavelli was a political philosopher who became an advisor to it's a Medici. I can't remember his name. Leonardo Medici. Leonardo Pero Medici. Right, the lion dog of the Medici family. It was he was the heir prince that was ascending to power when all of the political authorities was rounded up. Niccolo Machiavelli was rounded up with him. He found out which king was making the move for the throne and which one was the most likely to be successful. So he was writing him discourses, and these started off as letters. He was trying to get his attention so that his political prowess can be used and it could get him out of prison. This was what the whole Machiavelli philosophy stems from: a prisoner, political prisoner, trying to get free from prison. Now, in his writings, I think it's the one called The Art of War. He's speaking to, it's a philosophical conversation between a general who's fought his way through the ranks during wartime and a general who is just a military philosopher who went to military school and earned his ranks as a commissioned officer, as opposed to being a non-commissioned officer that worked his way up. And in the course of the conversation, Niccolo Machiavelli is advising the prince that when he's in a hostile situation that can overthrow him, he can feign his death. And the reason that he gave was that by feigning one's death, your enemies can never calculate accurately because they've taken you out of the equation. So now they don't have your skill set as a determining factor in their moves, which gives you a superior position in the war. This is why in The Art of War by Sun Tzu, he say, know your terrain. Beware of who occupies the high ground, who occupies the low ground, who occupies the forest, and who occupies the open field. Know thyself, know thy enemy, and then victory is assured. So the military strategy that's being employed by the tribes under the Machiavellian feigned death is this: if we confirm that there is an order from the enemies to assassinate the chief that's coming up, move him off the game, put him in an advisory capacity, conceal his location so they can take his character out of the game. So now they're not calculating the mental prowess of Tupac, the mental prowess of Nipsey Hussle, the mental prowess of Eric Easy Wright, the mental prowess of ODB. All of this manpower now is being filtered and funneled, but they not being calculated as threats to the opposing side, which makes us have a superior position on the terrain over the invader. Now, is everything is designed to confuse us because only certain people can see through the chaos. The snake, the cat, the rat, the dog. How you gonna see them when you're living in the fog? And the fog is the foggy mind of the miseducated because you're not seeing clear. If they change your orientation without you knowing it, whether you know it or not, you are disoriented. So they told us that South was down, and North was up all the time. South has always been up, and North has always been down, which gave us a false perception of East and West. So that's the confusion given. So these chiefs,
up south and down north.
yeah. So these chiefs that's being taken off the chessboard have been confirmed to have an assassination order because they've been killing us the whole time. Right? But none of us knew how to deal with the problem until we start studying the art of war. And by understanding that taking certain key figures off the visible chessboard mean that you can play those pieces all the way to the other side of the board until you at the other side trapped in a position that they can't escape. Right? Once you have them trapped, then you turn the lights on all of the ones that they thought was gone and find out that this was a mass convergence of tribal chiefs from different tribes working together, all of them playing a different part in order to trap the enemy on his side of the board. So it's applied strategy in the faking of the death or the extraction of the target. Right. It's the same as if you go in target practicing and you, right before you raise your gun to shoot somebody, take the target out the way. Now you looking for what happened to my target? Right. So then you create the compelling spectacle in order to utilize it as the ones who can see the chaos are chaos beings. So you need a chaos being in order to tell us of chaos. Just because it's chaos don't mean it's in disorder. It just means that it's in so many directions, no regular person can see all of the potentials.
Wow. There is so much. There is absolutely so much for us to, for an appoint until the appointed time, those chiefs are, and we know some actually were taken out.
Yeah.
But
some of them were. But like I could tell you now, Pimp C ain't dead. DMX ain't dead. ODB ain't dead. Tupac ain't dead. Eazy-E ain't dead. And I can go on and on. Ali and Left Eye ain't dead. Right? And they all have what's called a tail. Learning body language so you can detect when they lying. The tell for the Aaliyah situation was that walk down path around her plane crash site. The plane wasn't there long enough to walk a path of dirt. Unless they conveniently crash where they trained to put fires out on crashed airplanes, it would make sense. But that's the possibility is so great that the probability is most unlikely that they could crash in a training site location. A red flag that I seen when I seen them reporting on Kobe was every one of the major news channels had a different live footage of a different helicopter crashing.
Wow.
That didn't make sense. I was like, wait a minute, ain't nobody seeing this but me? Another red flag in the Kobe situation is Rick Fox was originally supposed to be on the helicopter with Kobe. And they was reporting that he died in the helicopter crash with Kobe, and he on the other channel, some sports channel with Charles Barkley. Not Charles Barkley, with Shaquille O'Neal.
Hmm.
Wait a minute, something ain't right here.
Well,
And
we saw all
then,
the ritual stuff too with before you go further with Kobe, with the the numbers and the game in Philly and the shirt, putting up his his, there was a lot of things numerically or numerologically that pointed to something that was, as they talk with gematria. I think when you looked at the gematria with what was going on, it was all set up. Certain numbers were very, very much repeated. And it seemed like, wait a minute, either they did do this and they did it, they call it murder by the numbers, or it was just that a show, a ritual. Somebody died, but we don't know who. And then maybe we think they did it. Well, we don't even know that they did because, again, we got what they showed us
yeah,
and told us.
yeah. Not to mention, a lot of this stuff is good gossip. Remember that.
Mhm.
We love a good gossip. We
Well,
will
who's Jack?
forego the.
Since we talk about God, who's Jack? Who is Jaguar writing all of this stuff? Does she have a higher role? I mean, because she's been exposing stuff for a long time, and now the things she was saying 2 years ago and being labeled crazy are now playing out. But does she have some larger role that
Okay,
besides?
I'm gonna ask a simple question that's gonna make a whole lot of people's light turn on. Um, First, I'm gonna lead with this. A jaguar, if it's born black, is a Black Panther,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Go back to Gene Deal. Gene Deal, when Jaguar Wright was saying what she was saying, he was asked about her right after the Puffy incident when Cassie filed a lawsuit. Gene Deal say we looking at the conclusion of a Tupac contract. He say um, we already won. It just ain't been told to the public yet. Then Jaguar Wright in turn said, it's not just me, it's not just Gene Deal, it's not just Cat Williams, it's a whole lot of us out there telling the truth. But she identified two key characters. She identified Gene Deal, who's been disgruntled with Puffy, but he been dropping all the codes. Then you have Cat Williams. Tupac first album was called Tupacalypse, but Cat Williams' second album is called Catpocalypse. Tupac being a Panther make him a cat mirror flips to Cat Williams, right? So it's all of these people. What happened to all of them children of those conscious Panthers, Black Liberation Army, and other legitimate tribal groups that was fighting to overthrow this enemy? What happened to their babies? They just stopped being soldiers because the feds busted up the Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army and the Weather Underground and all these other organizations they was busting up. Well, they just stopped believing in the truth, and they stopped believing in fighting for what's right. Where they babies go? Right? If you ain't paying attention, you will never know that Jaguar right is a byproduct of community that was heavily saturated with a Panther presence. Her delivery is vile and vindictive in expression to draw those attracted to the tone of gossip. Now you want some real juice, the real tea. Come on in and let Jaguar tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. Right? So she was there. She's been to the parties and seen what goes on. She didn't like it, so she cut it all loose. But now, as a member of an organic tribe of the land, whatever she learns, she has to put it in the public domain. She got to put it out there in a time-stamped and archivable format. So as she tell people and the dots start to connect, it's already recorded. You can go back to this day and this time on this channel and see where she said it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I see
she not
mainstream media quoting her now. Not just that's, some blogger, but you're seeing CNN and Fox and all them and quoting her.
Mm-hmm. Because, see, they wanted her to shut up. That's what they wanted. But she a sister from Philly. You think you gonna make a sister from Philly just shut up? And they know they right. You gonna make her double down. She gonna still tell you the same information, but she gonna be meaner than she was the last time she told you. It was a group of artists that grew up in the 70s and 80s who signed record deals to prove that these record contracts was the same as the sharecropping contract that took everything from the sharecropper. Why is that important? Because the people who were stealing the land from the sharecroppers, pretending to be their deliverance, and all the time they scourge, are the same people running the music industry in Hollywood. They the same bloodlines, the same families with the same method and the same allegiance to the same source.
Yeah, I can see that.
Using the same pattern, they caught on. When did they catch on, Dr. G? Go back to Bone Thugs and Harmony. One of the Bone Thugs and Harmony members came out in gave this speech about the 1991 meeting of the music business insiders on how to control rap music, capitalize on rap music, and to use it as a tool of destruction instead of a tool of upliftment. If you go back to 80s hip hop, you had people like Rakim, you had X-Clan, Public Enemy, even NWA. They was all telling us about what was going on and the remedies and the solutions in rhyme. They was catching the conjure, is what it's called. If you go back to the early 1900s, the conjuring was rapping and tapping and spirit talking. The to catch it on the other end, hip hop started off in lunchrooms with pencils on lunch tables while people are spitting rhyme. This is catching the conjure. They catching the beat of the rapping and tapping of the spiritualist movement, and the artist feeling the vibe is now reciting the rap that was put on the wire in order for them to download either who's behind the problem, the solution to the problem, or how to avoid the problem. Right? So the music industry decided they could make a whole lot of money off of hip hop. But once they took over, what started happening to rap music? People start rapping and start mumbling. And we call it mumble rap. What do that mean in the culture? In the culture, it means I'm here to do my part, but the industry won't let me say what I want to say. So you have to catch me mumbling in order to overhear what I'm trying to get across to you. So we gonna mumble rap. Now, mumble rap gave way to auto-tune. What does auto-tune mean to the priest that's reading hip-hop? It means that they've instituted artificial intelligence to steal the next wave. What comes behind auto-tune? What comes behind auto-tune is now they can put out me and Tupac with new lyrics using artificial intelligence. Which takes us back to the days of Africa Bambaataa and techno and rap.
Wow.
Our cultural expressions, when we remember who we are, give us more information than the educational system will ever give us. The problem being is the opponents to rap music as it's being expressed for debauchery and self-defeating behaviors and perceptions. All women is bitches, all these guys is niggas. Right? We can kill all the niggas and F all the bitches. Right? This is because the enemy is literally murdering the so-called niggas and raping the so-called bitches. So now they tell us about it in the music where it look like they glorifying it, but they shining the spotlight on the dirt being done behind the scenes in the form of depraved music. But we so judgmental, we not catching the message because we too busy condemning the messenger. Right? We are right now, everybody on the F Puffy tour bus. This is the hot gossip that's going on right now. This the juicy stuff. The Jaguar Wright interviews. Oh, let her get on Puffy. They got people having watch parties to hear her tear up Puffy. But what's Puffy's mission? Who was Diddy? Gene Deal told us who Diddy was and who named him that. Biggie named Puffy Diddy because Diddy is Donkey Kong Jr. Diddy Kong. That means that he can hold his post in his position. That means he's holding on to something that's part of the problem, and we need to watch him close to see who it is, Clive Davis. He was, because of his swinging door sexuality, he's the perfect candidate to send in there. He already like that. Mm-hmm. You're not going to send no straight dude in there to hold on to Clive Davis because that's going to turn bad for the straight dude. and Clive can pay his way out of it. So you got to send somebody that into that already. You already into it. You doing what you already like to do. Go lay up with that old crusty, stinky, sweaty, smelly cracker. Because you into that already. Just don't let that SOB go until we get him for Whitney, until we get him for Phyllis Hyman, until we get him for Bobby Christina, until we get him for Leah, until we get him for Left Eye, until we get him for LaFace Records and the whole bad boy camp. Before we get him with, and when we get him, we gonna already have Clive, Ted Fields and Jimmy Iovine and Liar Cohen, his lying ass. We gonna already have them if we can hold on to the bear. Right? So the question that came when it's, are they going to be able to bring down the elite? They just say they elite. They not elite for real. They just stole all our money because we was sleeping. They caught us in the middle of the night, crept in the house and ran the safe. Now we woke, we know where the safe at, and the whole family about to mount up to go get it. So this plays out in every form of old Mississippian culture. By me being an old Mississippian, it's almost second nature for me to read it. Right? So I could go in the community and look at the graffiti. I don't see eyesores. I see messages. Right? I don't see set tripping. I see street signs. What tribe over here? I need to know what tribe over here. I'm looking for the graffiti, the writing on the wall, right? Remember they said Daniel had to read for Nebuchadnezzar, the writing on the wall?
Eeny, meeny, tinkle, tinkle.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. G, I'm gonna let you go and do your thing. We can wrap it on up.
Questions. Let me just a couple questions. I would, and I don't know if these can be briefly answered, but Gene Simmons wanted to ask you your thoughts on Terrence Howard and his solving of the Platonic solids. All right, these are some that just, I don't know if it's why.
Terrence Howard, and the sciences that he's bringing out is ancient science. It's not new. The Platonic solids, as used under sciences, is only being looked at in two-dimensional form. All of the Platonic solids can be found in a three-dimensional form in the flower of life. Right. So Terrence Howard right about 99% of what he's saying right now. But it's not new. This is how he got references, not new. He's just identifying the science that they don't want us to know. Because it does something to us when we tap into the higher sciences with a combination of melanin, pineal, sacred elixir. Those three combination with the higher intelligence gives you the four corner shuffle on how to reclaim everything back and how to restore balance back to the people.
Okay, let me see. There's one other. Well, this is a comment. Said I said at the beginning that I know that Georgia Gilmore said, I said at the beginning I know that they hate that they locked you up. Nothing but time for research. Thanks so much for unraveling all of this stuff for me and so many others. So
yeah, well, that was by deliberate intent on my part. I told them when I was going in, if y'all lock me up, y'all gonna regret it when I get free. And I'm not saying I was innocent. I wasn't innocent. Right. But I wasn't supposed to get the time that I had. But if it take 7 years to get a PhD, I can get a PhD in about 4 subjects over 16 years. Right. But that don't mean I'm gonna stop when I come home.
and you didn't. And speaking of prisons, this question: what about the record companies and private prison owned by the same people using the music to keep the prisons full?
Mm-hmm. That goes back to the meeting I was talking about, because remember, everything that we do naturally is what they are using in order to generate currency. We naturally sing, rap, and dance. Naturally. If you leave one of our children in a room full of instruments, his nature is he's going to learn how to play at least one. He's going to get fixated on one instrument until he learns how to play it. That's our nature. Now that they know this, if you notice, there's hardly any households in our community with instruments in them anymore. Right? That's by design of the system. They make other things more important, like PS4s and PS5s and Xbox, right? Because the musical instrument ties the children back to the frequencies and sounds. And once you become sensitive to mothers is naturals at what I'm about to say next. But once you become familiar with frequencies and sounds, you can tell when a person lying to you when the pitch and tone of his regular delivery is altered. But the regular ear can't hear it. But you hear it with your subconscious. It hits you right in the gut because you have another brain called a solar plexus brain that stems from your third chakra. Right? Any third chakra and lower is your lower brain. This is why the priesthood is prescribed fasting to control the appetite. That's because you conquering the beast. In your lower nature is being conquered by conquering the natural base desire for food, which gives you control of your sexual appetite, your interest in other things is also under more of your control. How you express your interest in music, how you express your interest in relationships is all altered once you control your emotional self. And this is why all of the religions and spiritual teachings of the world prescribe fasting. Also, a side effect of the fasting is your body start to burn the impurities instead of burning fresh food, which is a form of detox. These impurities put off a different byproduct that's a neurostimulant that heightens the subconscious sensory mechanisms, which is the same as saying they're unlocking your psychic ability. So many of us have been drugged up and labeled as lunatics for not knowing we unlocked the psychic ability for whatever reason.
Wow. Okay. So there's some question here asking, when in 2024 can we expect the solar flash?
The solar been flashing like a mofo.
Already, huh?
What you're talking about, and this is what, and I'm glad you brought that question up too, because it's going to help a lot of people understand why the particular solar flash is not the same as the regular solar flares. There's a secondary sun that's about to be visible any day now. Some people can see it at the angle that they at. You can see two suns in the sky on the horizon. Sometimes they side by side, sometimes they're on completely opposite sides of the sky. But this secondary sun is bringing with it a massive amount of radiation, because it's 3 times the size of our sun at least. But the orbit that it's on is going to go around us. And when that radiation mixes with the regular solar storms that's going on right now, because the source codes has been delivered already to the solar orb at the Muhurta. The solar orb is communicating with the earth in order to know what corrections to make with the how to program the radiation to have the effect that's wanted instead of just any old effect. It can be fine-tuned by the intelligence of these bodies. The source energy or codes came through on the Maherta when we was lying to the center of the galaxy, right? That's the great yoni. And the sun and the earth are communicating as fraternal twins to Big Mama or Earth's great yoni. And in the process of this communication, there's a process of balancing or finding the equilibrium that's taking place between Earth and the sun that balances out the rest of the solar system. As the sisters of the earth, the daughters of Isis, become aware of they self being present on the planet because these codes is being expressed to correct DNA defects. These DNA defects, the mitochondrial has been keeping a log of the defects ever since the last age opened. Now they're going to change the genetics where the women that's going to be producing children are once again going to be producing men of valor, men of renown when it comes to the men, and then women of distinction, which means that each one is going to be so pronounced in her skill set that she stick out, but she's going to always find herself to a balance with her other sisters. We see this play out in women groups as the syncing of menstrual cycles, right? When the event, they call it the event in the inner circles of government and science, the event. When the event finally does happen, all of the women's cycle for a period of time is going to be together on clockwork. They're going to all align to the same menstrual cycle because the frequency of the earth is cleansing the genetics when that happens. And then this is going to give an abnormal amount of male children are going to be born in a splash. That's your cleanup crew and your foundation builders of the new age. They not going to be like us. And you seeing some of them now. The girls are not going to be like my sister and them was when we was growing up. They whole mentality, they coming in to fix this mess. They not coming here to entertain the low vibrational frequencies. They here to anchor earth to higher frequencies. This is how you get heaven on earth. But the event has to happen in order for the codes to all go into effect that's going to sink the women like Tesla coils around the planet. And that communication is being done as they talk to one another, Father Sky and Mother Earth.
This is going to be the last question I'm going to show. The question is, all righty, here we go. Will there, from Yeshua Melchizedek, will there be a 2024 presidential election? What is the Black Swan event we should be looking out for?
So what I'm looking at is highly unlikely that they carry the stage show to November. I don't believe there's going to be an election, but just because I don't believe it don't mean it won't happen. But whatever it is, it's going to be fake. That I can tell you. If the election go off, it's going to be fake. All right.
In whose favor Are we going to overwhelmingly? Are they going to they put Biden in?
Well, this takes us to the second part of the question about the Black Swan event.
Okay.
Justification to suspend the elections is going to be government collapse. You can't change president once the government collapse. So he become a wartime president under hostile circumstances. There's no time to do an election that's going to be accurate. This was the original reason of not allowing the president to leave under these conditions, because the people will be in too much disarray to have a competent election because of the change that or the catastrophic nature of the event. Right? So the Black Swan event is the final shutdown of the Fed. The central bank that's been holding us hostage and stealing our wealth has been captured by the tribes. But before we can take them offline, we have to get the collective clan's membership enough notice and opportunity to understand that we've taken it back in a religious horror story about some antichrist coming in to destroy everybody and make everybody slaves is the exact opposite of what's going to happen for real. Right? They want us to look for a boogeyman to be scared of instead of looking for a champion to support. If the people switch from fearing the boogeyman to supporting one of these chiefs out here putting in the work, Brother Kalai, Dane Calloway, legendary Top Cats, 19 Keys, 7 Bomar, we are doing this work for a reason, but we are doing something different. At the end of the day, the Empress is the one they need to keep an eye on, because it's her moves that's triggering all of these collapses now. It was my moves that was making them surrender to her what we call foundational documents. We got to remember, we aren't the ones who wrote these documents. But as sovereigns, when we start to reclaim what's ours, when they surrender back to the sovereign, the birthright as the heir to the land, they give you the foundational document that their fraud is built on. Once they do that, fruit of the poison tree doctrine and law applies. Everything that followed that was surrendered with the foundational documents and treaties. Now that part done, she's working on restructuring her Big Mama Bank. I call it Big Mama Bank, but it's actually the family bank. And Big Mama is just so happened to be the one responsible to pick the members of the family to sit as the banking committee, right? And for us, it in the family banker of the collective tribes will make up the banking council. So as she do what's necessary to have an active currency that all of us can immediately go to, the banks can only fall in phases. The most recent was a whole like $600 and some billion or 514 billion, I think it is unaccounted for. And FDIC found some unusual banking process in, I think it was like 156 banks. Numbers might be off, but I can send you what I'm talking about for the receipt. I think it's posted on my page too. But all of these is response to stuff that she's doing, because we literally in real time, exercising our birthright to reclaim everything so that everybody can have what's rightfully theirs.
That's being worked on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we are at the 3 hour mark. And this has been real. This has been a blast, of course. And you've shared a lot of knowledge, a lot of information and stuff for folks. You know, you can do your research, and we always appreciate it. I always appreciate it, at least when you're here, and it's indicative of the 1,159 folks that I see, plus some over, yeah, that I see watching. So we appreciate that. Just gonna let folks know that also. Let me see where I am on. Oops, let me take this down. On Friday, on Friday, the 28th of June, we have our fourth Friday. Let's take this down for a minute. Civics Cat class, Grand Sheik Tajri Bay, and myself here at the House of Reawakening Minds in Wilmington, Delaware. So if you're anywhere in the area, if you're not in the area but you want to travel here, we start at 7, open the doors at 6:30, and we normally go. It says till 9:30, but we don't go till 9:30. We normally go until. So we're not having any big conferences this year. So if you want to check us out in person, we certainly invite you to come out on the 28th of June, and we'll see you at the house. And I don't know, Chief, if there's anything you have coming up, any interviews or anything that you want the folks to know that they can tune in, because wherever you are, you're always going to get something that you didn't hear on the last interview. So do you have anything coming up?
So tomorrow I got Young Elder at I think it's 8:30.
Okay.
That's all I got scheduled right now. But I want to
Right.
tell you this: get Taj a hug for me. Tell him the finisher is finishing up the finish.
He was talking about
So
you yesterday.
tell him to go and start looking through his travel brochures so we can send him wherever he want to go for retirement.
Yeah, I don't think he gonna start. He just gonna go somewhere and keep on building houses and fixing people. He's a house doctor,
Look,
so he
Dr. G, it's his life. If he want to build houses, we just gonna make sure he got the crew and the materials he need, and he can go do all the building he want. Whatever
absolutely,
he want to do, he earned the right. Look, he earned the right to live his best life. The only thing is, he the only one can design it.
that's true. That's
I
true.
just want to finish so he can enjoy it as long as possible for the rest of his days.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, but yeah, we were talking about you because I shared the link from the Dane Calloway legendary Top Cats interview of the build, and he was happy that you all had come. He said, and more. He said, and he hopes that you all will do more of that. That he said more of that needs to take place. And again, he said, he called you the finisher and the closer. So I certainly will make sure that he hears that. And you all, thank you, each and every one of you for tuning in and staying. A lot of you for 3 hours and 3 minutes at this point. We appreciate you too. Grant Sheik and I'll be back next Friday, so on the 21st on the live. But if you want to see us in person, we need to see you on the 28th at the House of Reawakening Minds. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Listen, share this video, like it if you haven't. It's easy if you're watching on TV. I just learned how to do that recently. How you click over to the channel and click the up thing. You can click like, but like it if you liked it. You stay here this long as you might as well like it, right? So help us so that other people can see it, and also make sure you share it for those who have not seen it. Watch it again if you didn't. If you came in late, because this was a real good build, and I always appreciate when Chief Pontiac comes on, because it's you stimulate my intellect. So I'm always hearing something something newer from a different perspective. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you for
Thank you.
having me, Dr. G. I always appreciate it when y'all invite me. It's it's a point of gratitude anywhere I'm invited. My mama say, make them happy to see you come and sad to see you go. Don't never wear
Ah,
out your welcome.
absolutely. Listen, show your love to Chief Pontiac. I've had this up almost the whole time. Just he's he doesn't ask for anything, but if you like or love what you heard, please show your love. Oh, if every one of you said $1, that would be amazing. You know? So, and also remember House of Real Awakening Minds, because the only support we get is, flash drive sales. And when somebody says, oh, that was a great show, and sends a few notes, but we appreciate you. We appreciate you
You
being,
know something that you told me we was gonna do when we ain't did it.
what's that? And he froze and won't let you say it. What is it that I said we were going to say we didn't do?
We supposed to do a show talking about the 420.
Oh yeah, y'all listen. Yeah, because I listen. Yeah, we almost probably have to do that as a what do you call it? I don't know. We have to do that as an unfiltered to really talk about it. But what he's talking about, y'all, is that you see that running down the bottom. I have a 420 dispensary. If y'all know what 420 is, if you don't, you can actually go. Let me edit this. You don't even have to put all this stuff in here, but you can actually go to the site without you can wait. So here we go. Make sure you can go to my site and check it out, and then you'll know what 420 is. Shift.store/my pleasure. My business is called My Pleasure, but there's so much knowledge out there that we want to share, and we're going to probably do it on the unfiltered. And right now we are having some issues with our website to get information out on the website. So those of you who are Facebook friends for House of Real Awakening Minds, I'll be posting stuff there also, so that you'll know, especially for a link. If it's unfiltered, well, you don't. You know what? When we can do it unfiltered, and they don't have to register, Chief, because it's just that it's not going to be on YouTube, Facebook. It'll just be straight on StreamYard. So stay on the lookout for our official House of Real Awakening Minds Facebook page for the link, just to get in. And when we do that, because you are an aficionado of 420, and there's a lot of health benefits and so forth that folks should know about. So we're gonna do that. Thank you for reminding me.
I wanted to mention because now people are gonna be reminding you until they see the.
Right. And in the meantime, y'all can go visit my store, and whatever you want to be, this is gonna rhyme, be delivered to your door. All right. Thank you, Chief. And let me see where we go. I'm gonna leave out with this right here, and I'm gonna play the long version of Dr. G, since I played the short version coming in. And listen, for those of you who tuned in at the very beginning, the reason why I was laughing and Chief was laughing is because I did this wonderful intro, and Chief Pontiac said, I don't think you went live. And we might have, if he hadn't paid attention, we would have done this whole show and none of you would have seen anything, because I forgot to push the go live button. And so that's why when we did try it again, I was laughing so bad. So that was that. But I love y'all. And even the ones of y'all who be, cantankerous in the chat, just don't be too cantankerous, because don't want to block you. All right. So we out of here. We out of here. Really? Oh shit. me. Really? Oh shit. Yeah, that's me. Dr. G. 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 Really? Oh shit. Yeah, that's me.